Okay, now that we have some user roles set up with some permissions, we can now add users to our system. So I'm going to go over here under controls and then users. And here on the right hand side, add new user. This is where you can add a manual user. So just note when you add a user this way, you're manually adding this user. So no invite goes out to that user for them to onboard themselves. That link that you have for the onboarding link, that's where they can self-onboard in the user roles in the previous video. Here, when you set this up, you're actually manually setting them up. This is helpful if you want to set up an account for a client before they gain access to it, kind of configure it for them. So no notification goes out. You're responsible for actually setting up the password or temporary password and sending that information over to them. So username is email. This is for all notifications and system updates and things like that. So make sure you use a valid email here. And there's two different types of users. As I mentioned, you have parent accounts. Parent accounts are essentially accounts that are just like you. So they can create user roles. They can create child users. So when you're setting up an account, think of, does this client need to add their own users? Are they going to have their own internal reps that are working on the CRM? Are they going to have an opportunity of having their own clients and things like that? They would need to be set up as a parent account. If this is your own internal users, such as your salespeople, your support people, your marketing people, or even your clients, right? So clients that you're building websites for, clients that need to access the project system, clients who will be using the CRM for themselves, clients who need access to reporting and things like that, knowledge base and courses, you would want to set them up as child roles, right? And so in this case, I'm going to set up a child support role. So let me do James, let's do Gordon at Wayne Industries.live, and I'm going to select, let's just do the support role. So hit create. So again, no invite went out, so you need to configure this user, and the way to do that is you need to log in as that user, and you can log in two ways. You can click on the profile icon here, or you can click on their email address. So once you click on their email address, that's going to take you into their dashboard. You're going to simply go up to their profile, and here's where you're going to put in their personal information. Now, at a minimum, you should need to put in first name and last name. I'll tell you why. So first name and last name is used throughout the system to configure their VoIP settings and things like that. So without it, you're unable to create those assets. So make sure that you put a first name and last name in when you're setting them up. Put a temporary password. At this point, you can send them to your URL to log in, and then they can come in and update their personal information and change their password. But it's very important if you're setting up manual users to always set their first name and last name up, or you won't be able to create some assets within the platform without it. So that's all set up. So James Gordon set up as a role. As you can see, they have a limited view based on the permissions, and then I can log out. So now I'm going to set up a parent account. Now what's cool about parent accounts is they actually inherit your brand, but they can also set up their own brand. So when you set up a parent account, again, these are users that are going to have their own basically system just like yours, where they can create user roles and create child accounts, so their own internal reps. So any client that has multiple users, you're going to want to set up as a parent account. Industries.live. Oops. And then now I will assign it to the parent account role. So you see all these roles I created earlier. Here's the parent account role. So I'm going to hit create. Same thing here. I have to log in as this user, set the first name and last name, set the password, and then send that off. This is the onboarding process. If they use the link, they onboard themselves. In this case, they're not onboarding themselves, so I got to do it manually. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the email address here. I'm going to go up to the profile, and I'm going to set up the first name and last name and password. So now that's set up, you can tell, right? I have every bit of the same system that you have, or that the account that I inherited. So the branding, the color scheme, the styles, everything that you have set on your system is inherited from yours to the parent account. Now they still can come in and brand the system uniquely. So if you want to offer that, to your clients and things like that, you can do that. But again, this is all set up with your brand to inherit throughout the system. So you just log out and you're good to go. So really, two factors here is basically if this user needs to have their own users, you need to set up parent accounts. If not, if they're direct accounts to you, just set up child users on roles and you're good to go. Oh, one last thing, apologize. So you have this edit icon right here. This is when you ever need to change, apply a role, change their email, and then save. Delete. So when you delete a user, all that's doing is archiving that user. The reason for that is we delete our systems every 30 days. So you may accidentally delete a user and you didn't intend to do that. We can always restore it within 30 days. Being that said, if you archive a user and you want to re-add them with the same email address, you'll get an error. And so you'll need to reach out to support to restore that account or completely purge it for you. So just make note of that. If you're just testing around, test with some email addresses you'll never use again. If you want to delete out, if you're creating accounts with the actual email addresses of the clients that you're going to be doing, and then you want to just test it out and delete them, that's not ideal because they're archived for 30 days and you won't be able to add that user back in for another 30 days unless you contact support.